Welcome back. Well, the state of Florida is suing the Biden administration for allegedly refusing to help remove non-citizens from Florida's voter rolls. The lawsuit coming as the Department of Justice is suing Alabama and Virginia for their efforts to follow the law to remove non-citizens from their voting rolls. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin issued an executive order requiring the election commissioner to regularly update the state's voter lists to remove individuals who have been identified as non-citizens and have not responded to requests to verify their citizenship. The DOJ claims the state is violating federal law by issuing the order too close to the election and for identifying voters as non-citizens if they answered no to questions about citizenship on the Department of Motor Vehicles forms. Joining me now is the man himself. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is here. Governor, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. Thank you for having me. And I think it's a really important point of the description you just gave, which was absolutely accurate, that they self-identify as a non-citizen when this whole process starts. And then they've ended up on the voter roll, either by accident or purposefully. And therefore, we go through a very clear process that's been on our books for 18 years, since 2006, in order to notify them. We give them 14 days to affirm that they are a citizen or not, and then they're removed from the voter roll if they are not able to affirm they're a citizen. And by the way, in Maria, in Virginia, we have same-day registration. And so if there's been a mistake, they can still come, register to vote at the poll and cast a provisional ballot. So there's multiple safeguards here. It is unprecedented, in my mind, to see the Justice Department, in fact, try to intervene in what has been a very clear process to remove self-identified non-citizens from the voter roll so that we have only citizens voting in our presidential election. Call me crazy, but I do believe that only citizens should be voting in U.S. elections.
Well, I mean, that's the law. It is against the law to vote in the presidential election if you are a non-citizen. So you're following the law. The DOJ in the Alabama case, and it's actually taking the same precedent as the Alabama case, they're arguing that the state can't launch a review of these voting rolls 90 days before an election. You've been trying to clean up the voter rolls for a while now. What do you make of this idea of suing the state, Alabama as well as Virginia, because of the timing so close to the election?
Well, in our case, it doesn't apply because this is not a new systematic issue. This is an ongoing individualized process that starts with somebody self-identifying as a non-citizen. And we've been doing this, as I said, in Virginia for 18 years. I've, in fact, asked our registrars to certify back to me that they are following the law, which gives people a 14-day period to affirm that they are a citizen before they're removed from the voter roll. And as I said, there's always the ultimate safeguard of same-day registration. I believe this is purely political. They waited until 25 days before a presidential election in order to file this suit. I wrote to my executive order back in early August. They could have had 18 years to object to this, and they didn't. And this is why I think people lose faith in the whole process. In Virginia, we have paper ballots. We have counting machines, not voting machines. And we've gone to work to make people confident that their vote will be accurate, will be accurately counted, and that the results will reflect voters' will. And this is a moment where we have to stand strong, where citizens should be electing our next president, not non-citizens.
Right. And you know, people understand this. I mean, Gallup poll just recently reported that there's a double-digit number of people who actually are unsure that their vote will matter. Unsure, in fact, if they're going to have a fair election because of this very issue. We're seeing voter rolls being cleaned up across the country. And recently, Merrick Garland came out and said he is going to vow to ensure that people are not using voter ID. I mean, it's just extraordinary that, you know, you look at California where Gavin Newsom just banned the use of ID. What do you think is behind this action at the DOJ that they're so against people using an ID to vote? You need an ID for virtually everything.
Yeah, I just can't understand the entire mindset. So constitutionally, we have to have citizens vote, not non-citizens, both at the federal level and the state level. And then we have a law that specifically forces us. I have no discretion here, Maria, to work through a process. If someone self-identifies at one of our Department of Motor Vehicles that they are a non-citizen and they're on the voter roll, that we go through this process to remove them. At the end of the day, I am all for every single eligible voter who is a citizen of the United States voting. Register to vote, come with a picture ID, and vote. But boy, we need to make sure that everyone can trust this process as well, and therefore we have to stand up for our constitutional standards that citizens elect our public officials. It's in our federal constitution, it's in our state constitution, and most importantly, I need to make sure that all Virginians trust this process, and that's exactly what I will do as governor.
So are you comfortable with what we're going to see come November 5th on Election Day in Virginia? I mean, are you going to take this to the mat? What are you going to do? They're telling you to stop doing this right now.
Well, first of all, I am very confident in what we will see in Virginia as far as an accurate result reflecting voters' wills, because we have done a great job of running a good process. We have amazing people who work our voter rolls, who are our registrars. I just went last week to one of our larger counties and participated in the certification of the counting machines themselves. And so folks can trust our elections. It's issues like we're talking about today, where the Department of Justice is intervening in an established process to make our elections transparent, secure, and safe, that cause people to really wonder, what are they up to? Why are they possibly doing this? Because common sense and constitutional law would suggest the other. And that's why I do believe they should just stand down. They should let us run our elections as states are supposed to do, with a transparent, fair, safe process, and we will reflect the Virginia voters' will in electing our next president.
And we should point out that you are simply defending a bipartisan state law which was signed in 2006 by a Democrat, Tim Kaine.
Yeah, it was. And it's been applied for 18 years. And as recently as Democrat Governor Terry McAuliffe and Democrat Governor Ralph Northam applied it the exact same way all the way up through into October. And then finally, of course, what our process does, as I said, provides multiple fail-safes for people to affirm that they're a citizen or ultimately register on the day of election and cast a provisional ballot.
And do you have any sense of other states? Because maintaining these lists, that these are true, accurate voter lists, registered voters, this is a state responsibility. It is on you to ensure that we have a fair election in Virginia. It is on the governor of any state. How do you feel about other states right now in terms of doing this, ensuring that we have an accurate read come November 5?
Well, Maria, I can't opine on what's going on down on the election ground process at other states. I have seen a number of states move forward to make sure that their voting rolls are clean. We worked very hard across the last 3.5 years in our administration in order 2.5 years, in our administration, in order to make sure that dead people who have unfortunately passed away in the Commonwealth of Virginia removed. And we had 80,000 of them that we had to remove. We had people that had moved away that were still in the voter rolls. And of course, now we see this entire very constitutional process of folks that are declared by themselves. They are self-declared non-citizens that we're working through a process to remove from the voter rolls. Listen, this is the job of governors. Elections are remanded to states by the Constitution. It is our job to run them fairly, and therefore I will do exactly that for Virginia voters.
That is wonderful. And we're watching you work on this issue, Governor. I want to move on to the innovation going on in your state as well, because Amazon is going nuclear, announcing it's going to invest more than $500 million to develop small modular reactors from Washington state to Virginia. Amazon Web Services signed an agreement with Virginia utility company Dominion Energy to develop a small nuclear reactor to fuel growing energy demands in the state and across the country, including the wealth of data centers operating in Virginia. Tell us more about this. We know with all of the talk and usage of AI and so much technology out there, we are in need of more data centers. What can you tell us, Governor?
Well, 2 years ago, I put forth our statewide power plan, all American, all of the above in order to meet the rising demand for power in Virginia. And we need baseload, secure, affordable, reliable power in Virginia, and nuclear is at the heart of that. And I challenged the state to be the first state to deploy a commercial small modular reactor. And I was so pleased to see us take this giant step this week. You know, Maria, we have been deploying small modular reactors for decades in Virginia in our nuclear navy on the back of submarines and aircraft carriers. We know how to do this. And I was so pleased that AWS chose Virginia as one of the first states to move forward in this most important step. The great thing is that it is an agreement between AWS and Dominion. They ring-fence the economics so that normal everyday ratepayers won't be impacted for this at the beginning, and yet it allows us to get started on providing affordable and reliable and, yes, increasingly clean power, because nuclear is the cleanest power. It is an amazing baseload power supply. We need more of it. I've been a big advocate for a long time, and I was so pleased to see Virginia at the top of the list here.
And why haven't we tapped into this sooner?
Yeah, I don't fully appreciate the hesitancy of particularly the Biden administration at the beginning of their administration, but I think everyone is now recognizing that we have a power problem in America. You know, the unfortunate reality is the big shift to all wind and all solar just isn't going to work. And we're going to find ourselves with intermittent power that doesn't turn on when we need it the most, and particularly when we need 24/7 baseload power. And at the end of the day, we are working to permit a new natural gas plant in Virginia. We're pressing forward on small modular reactors. We have an energy innovation fund. I think that carbon capture and hydrogen and increased use of clean coal and everything else is going to be needed in addition to, yes, wind and solar. We'll take it all because the power growth in the country, and particularly in Virginia, demands it. One of the things that I have heard around the world as we've recruited businesses to Virginia, and Maria, a lot of them are coming. You know, we were named the top state for business this year, is that having affordable and reliable and, yes, increasingly clean power is hugely important, and particularly as companies are trying to make sure that they have an offense as China begins to really identify itself not just as a competitor but as an adversary around the world. They want to come to America, they want to come to Virginia, and they want to come to a place where they have secure power supply.
Yeah, and they want to come near our military installations, which is very concerning as well, Governor. Look, leave it to a businessman to come into politics and start putting business ideas forward like innovation and putting growth as a priority and cutting regulation. You've got breaking news this morning, releasing your latest executive order on reducing regulations. Tell us about that.
We have started from day one with my executive order to reduce regulations in the Commonwealth of Virginia by 25%, systematically streamlining. And we have done exactly that, where we have addressed 50,000 regs in Virginia that have translated into $1.2 billion of savings for Virginians and Virginia companies to bring down the cost of living, the cost of business, and to make it easier to do the things you need to do. And so this morning, we put forth my next executive instruction, which is to now do this for permitting across the Commonwealth. Today in Virginia, it takes you 30% of the time to get an air permit or a water permit. We're going to do it in every aspect of our state, so it's easy to do business, easy to live your life, and less expensive.
And it will be easier to lead to growth, economic growth for the state. We know that. Governor, we're watching your work, and I also applaud you on what you've done in terms of crime and getting crime numbers down. It's great to have you this morning, sir. Thank you.